In 1969, Alex Webster became head coach of the New York Giants. The Giants did not have a winning year, but they finished the season with all the fight and fury of a rumbling, wrecking avalanche as they buried 3 opponents in a row: the Pittsburgh Steelers, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cleveland Browns. And with those wins, Giants fans mollified themselves in the off-season. They talked with knowing smiles. They anticipated. And if they could not brag and holler, they could at least swagger a bit and proclaim in all sincerity that the Giants would be near unbeatable in 1970.
Chicago traveled to Yankee Stadium, hoping to restore the Bear legacy, which had been buried under 13 losses in 1969. It seemed that nothing had changed but the setting. While the Chicago offense floundered as they had in '69, Fran Tarkenton, number 10, began to tear the Bear defense to shreds. Even the Bears on the bench began to realize that this could be the start of another long winter. The Giants grabbed the advantage and pressed it for points as Tarkenton and Ron Johnson, number 30, teamed to give New York the quick advantage. For Chicago, this pattern was familiar.
The New York season opened with a night game and with the Chicago Bears as the intended victim. But despite an early lead, an untimely breakdown left the Giants victimized, and the loss left the promise of 1969 somewhat tarnished. In Dallas, the Giants fared no better, and a pattern had begun as another lead was bobbled and blown away.
The Giants secondary double-covered number 22 Bob Hayes, and Spider Lockhart alertly intercepted Staubach's underthrown pass and whirled past the wheezing Cowboys. While the Giants' defense was intimidating Dallas receivers, Fran Tarkenton, number 10, shrewdly manipulated the New York attack. He either threw under the touchdown-conscious Dallas secondary or alertly turned busted plays into long gains. Giants built a 10-0 halftime lead when Ron Johnson followed number 65 Pete Case over linebacker Leroy Jordan for a touchdown.
In New Orleans, the Giants clicked to life, only to click off moments later. Ron Johnson scored once, but was then denied. New York had to settle for a field goal and a 10-point lead. But for them, a lead was poison, and they soon found the antidote: give it to the enemy. And while one play doesn't make a season, this one came close. Aaron Thomas was called out of bounds on what should have been the winning touchdown. The Giants left New Orleans with 3 losses, no wins. The legacy of 1969 was shattered and lost in a triumvirate.
As the Saints prepared to meet the Giants, everybody got their legs in shape. While New Orleans cheerleaders were demonstrating the latest stance for linebackers, that scrambling man, Fran Tarkenton, threw the most unlikely touchdown of the season, a corner pattern to the bush. But for most of the game, Tarkenton was on target as he led New York to an early 10-0 lead over New Orleans. Using the bullish runs of number 30, Ron Johnson, Tarkenton consumed 9 minutes of the first quarter with a sustained ball-control drive. Fran capped the march by spearing Johnson with a 22-yard swing pass for a score. Number 17, Billy Kilmer, the fiery commander of the Saints offense, never got untracked against the fierce Giant rush. When he wasn't battered, he was beaten by his own errors. This interception by number 41, Willie Williams, ended the day for Kilmer. Into the game came sophomore quarterback Ed Hargett, who produced instant excitement for New Orleans. While he missed connections on some throws, his touchdown toss to number 00, rookie Ken Burrow, narrowed the Giant margin to 10-7. It was the first New Orleans touchdown of the season. Inspired by Hargett, Saint fans and the New Orleans defense came to life. Nearly everything Tarkenton threw ended up in the wrong uniform. Number 24, Elijah Nevitt, led a boisterous secondary that held the Giants scoreless in the second half. Nevitt provided New Orleans with the game-breaking play in the last quarter when he smothered Bill Johnson's punt, and number 25, Al Dodd, recovered for a Saints touchdown. Another view shows that Johnson, the Giant punter, inadvertently kicked the loose ball, allowing Dodd a clear shot for 7 points. With 3 minutes remaining and the Giants on the New Orleans 5-yard line, Tarkenton's pass to Aaron Thomas was ruled out of bounds. With 4th and goal, Elijah Nevitt stepped in front of Thomas and saved the New Orleans victory. While the 14-10 New Orleans win was its first of the year, it was the second consecutive week the winless New York Giants saw a 10-0 lead melt into defeat.
After the Saints, New York met the Philadelphia Eagles, who were also winless. Although it was billed as a battle for last place, the Eagles looked like anything but a loser as they firebombed the Giants from the outset. But safety Spider Lockhart shut down the Eagles' attack, and the Giants had found their beginning. A spark was struck. The spark flamed as Bobby Duhan returned an Eagle punt for a touchdown. The flame became a holocaust as Ron Johnson erupted. A solar flare, a streak of fire flashing behind Moe the Man Down blocking of Willie Young, Greg Larson, and Dick Buzzin. And where once stood Eagle defenders, Pete Case and Doug Van Horn blasted gaping holes, and Ron Johnson poured through. For a moment, his superlative efforts seemed wasted when this 89-yard touchdown was called back. But with time fleeting and with the Giants' first win hanging in the balance, the runner in royal blue did it again. And not only did Ron Johnson's run mean victory, but it was a catalyst.
In Yankee Stadium, the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles locked horns in a duel to escape the onus of being the league's only 0-4 team. Ron Johnson, number 30, showed that he was tired of being cast in the loser's role as he went 68 yards for a touchdown on the game's second play. Number 28, Bobby Duhan, also must have wanted to escape being a loser, for he traveled 45 yards with an Eagle punt for a touchdown and a 17-0 Giant lead. Then it was Johnson again, as behind perfect blocking, he blazed 87 yards for an apparent touchdown. But this effort was nullified by a penalty and gave the Eagles new life. It gave new life to hard-running fullback Tom Woodishek, number 37. And new life to Harold Jackson, who caught 2 touchdown passes and was having a field day against the Giants' left cornerback position as the Eagles rallied to a 23-all tie. But with the Eagles driving for a possible winning score, it was a pass that Jackson did not catch that forced the Eagles to punt and doomed Philadelphia. With time running out, Giants quarterback Fran Tarkenton began driving his team into field goal range. Then he called a play designed to give their kicker Pete Gogolak field position, but it did much more. It resulted in Johnson's 34-yard touchdown run as the Giants won their first game of the year 30-23. And left the Eagles as the only 0-4 team in the NFL.
Against the Patriots and their spanking new quarterback, Joe Cap. For Cap, it was a day when his best laid plans were put to rest beneath a withering defensive charge. Suddenly, the Giants' D was everywhere. Suddenly, another team element was added, another piece in the puzzle. Patriot fans were less than excited by their new hero. But Fran Tarkenton to Clifton McNeil excited Giants fans and put the finishing touches on a 16-0 New York win.
As the hub of old New England, Boston maintained Sunday traditions all its own. Sunlit, ivy-covered stadiums, mounted patrolmen overlooking a shady common, and more recently, a losing football team. But those Bostonians who came to Harvard Stadium last Sunday hoped that the time was near for the Patriots to once again capture a championship. The Patriots have the nucleus of a fine team, but the recent acquisition of this man, Joe Cap, had Boston a skitter. For here was the man who had led the Vikings to a championship only last year, with a fiery charisma the Patriots surely needed. His first start was against Alex Webster and his New York Giants, a team that is also attempting to reverse recent losing habits. Before the windswept game, Cap told his new teammates to put a little joy into their work. But only a man of irrepressible machismo could possibly have taken any pleasure from the ensuing afternoon. Cap's crude style is unmistakably his own, but he is only one man, and the Giants made his transition from Zorba the Viking to Zorba the Patriot a long and painful one. For the Giants' Fran Tarkenton, number 10, it was an equally long afternoon, but he managed to complete a 28-yard touchdown pass to Clifton McNeil, number 18. The Giants also got 3 field goals from Pete Gogolak for their total of 16 points. But Cap was still charging at the end, giving everything he had and taking everything in kind. He was the team's leading rusher and completed 10 of 22 passes. But like before, the Patriots didn't win. And for at least one Boston fan, that fact was all too familiar.
At home, the fans welcomed their shutout supermen, and the Cardinals' glamorous ground game was ground to a halt. And St. Louis became the victims of New York's latest team element. After 5 games, Fran Tarkenton and his receivers had put it all together. Number 38, Bob Tucker, made his scoring debut with 2 touchdowns. But it was Fran Tarkenton who was applauded the loudest. He had returned home in triumph.
The St. Louis Cardinals came to New York and were scrambled by Fran Tarkenton and the New York Giants. Rarely did St. Louis display the rushing crunch that had battered and bruised the NFC's Eastern Division. The Cardinals scored 2 touchdowns, one on a short vault by MacArthur Lane, the other on a picture-scoring grab by Dave Williams. But for most of the bleak day in Yankee Stadium, St. Louis was betrayed by the often erratic arm of their quarterback, Jim Hart. Hart's miseries were a mixture of his own inaccuracy and the back-busting Giant defense. With his pocket often collapsing around him, Hart threw 2 interceptions and completed just 15 passes in 40 attempts. On the other hand, Giant quarterback Fran Tarkenton threw over or ran through the Cardinals at will. In the first half, Tarkenton threw 10 passes and completed all of them, 3 going for touchdowns. The first went to a completely uncovered Aaron Thomas at the corner. Rookie Bob Tucker, a refugee from the Pottstown Firebirds, flowed free and easy through the Cardinals secondary and scored the Giants' second touchdown. All afternoon, Tarkenton found uncovered receivers and undressed the St. Louis secondary. Five Tarkenton touchdown passes, 2 going to Bob Tucker, gave New York a startling 35-17 victory. For the Giants, their 3rd straight win dropped St. Louis into a first-place tie with Dallas, and suddenly Fran Tarkenton was the only winning quarterback in town.
The New York Jets were next, and the trophy was the biggest ever. New York City for a year. Although Kathy and Joanne thought the Jets were still number 1, after this game, they weren't even number 1 in New York. The Giants' defense hounded and pounced, crowded and crumpled, and came hungry for quarterback. Jim Files and Fred Dreyer performed the ultimate in defense as they toppled the Jets in their own end zone. While Al didn't have much to show, Francis and his receivers did. And the latest link in the forged chain of teamwork rolled the Jets secondary up and blew it away as Tucker and McNeil flew fast and free. And while many people had written the Giants off after their early losses, those people were now taking a second look, because at 4-3, the Giants were rising fast. When Dallas came to town to test the Giants' 4-game win streak, they were unimpressed as they took an early lead. Only Pete Gogolak's field goals, this a club record of 54 yards, kept New York in the game. But in the second half, the Giants' defense became a blue tidal wave, throwing back the Cowboys' running game and drowning the passing game. While Dallas was drying out, Ron Johnson scorched through and around the Cowboys' line like an infuriating dust devil. Johnson's 140 yards rushing was frustrating to Dallas coach Tom Landry. But when Landry defensed the run, Johnson broke the Cowboys as a receiver, making the final 23-20 New York. Another big win, and the victory chain now at 5.
The Giants are another story completely, and head coach Alex Webster has the Big Apple aflutter. After losing his first 3 games, Webster and the Giants have won 4 straight and have looked good doing it. The new-look Giants bear no resemblance to a conservative Wall Street brokerage firm. They are a mad-mod contemporary team with a gambling style of play. The big difference has been their ground attack and their defense. Though 6th in the league, the defense has come up with the big plays with an aggressive pursuing attitude reminiscent of the Huff Robustelli era. So Fran Tarkenton and the Giants prepared to do battle with the Cowboys, a team they have beaten only once in the last 9 games, while Giant fans continued to follow the slight scent of a title for the first time in years. I'm Jack Whitaker, and this is the NFL Game of the Week, the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. Yankee Stadium eagerly awaited the opening kickoff, but the Giants would not please their fans in the first few moments of the game. Tarkenton's strategy was to open with his running game, but this strategy failed miserably. After Ron Johnson was stopped, Tucker Fredrickson went into the line, fumbled, and safety Charlie Waters recovered. On a replay of the fumble, keep a close eye on Fredrickson, number 24, as he fumbles and then trips up Waters in desperation, perhaps saving a long run back of the fumble. With a big break early, Craig Morton decided to probe rather than go for the quick strike.
So he ran his number 1 running tandem right at the Giants and got nothing. First, number 33, rookie sensation Dwayne Thomas. Then Calvin Hill, number 35, tried to move it, but managed 4 yards between them. On 3rd and 6, Morton went for the sidelines and came up empty as rookie Ken Parker from Fordham almost went coast to coast. The Giants' defense had held and came away down 3-0 on Mike Clark's field goal. On his second series, Tarkenton decided to mix his plays, and he utilized the short pass to Clifton McNeil, number 18, to complement the running of Ron Johnson and Tucker Fredrickson. Coach Webster's strategy was to run right at the Cowboys' front 4 with draws and quick traps up the middle in hopes of negating a strong rush by the quick and overly aggressive Dallas front 4. The strategy worked well on this drive. On this play, it was the block by center Greg Larson on number 75, Jethro Pugh, that gave Fredrickson the time to pop through the hole and down to the Cowboys' 30. On 3rd and 9, however, the Giants caught their second bad break. Tarkenton scrambled and hit McNeil at the 18. But Fran had been over the line of scrimmage when he threw. This cost him 5 yards and the down to boot. So Pete Gogolak came in and hit a 40-yarder to tie the score at 3. The second quarter was to see more of the resurgent Giant defense assert itself, as they would hold Dallas to 1 first down. The Giant offense, too, is in a renaissance, and Francis Tarkenton is the man leading New York out of the dark ages. A scrambler cannot a winner make, one of the many shibboleths Tarkenton has disregarded on the way to his greatest of 10 seasons. On this drive, a scramble and 2 tosses to McNeil brought up a 3rd and inches on the Cowboys' 35. Here, Fran gambled and lost, as Joe Morrison couldn't hold on to Tarkenton's perfectly accurate pass. Morrison knew it and tried to hide, but couldn't. So Gogolak's strong right leg put the ball through from 42, and it was now 10-6. Once again, the gutty Giants' defense was superb, and Dallas could get nothing on 3 straight downs. In fact, the Cowboys could muster only 1 first down rushing for the half, and aside from the 2 bombs to Hayes, Morton could muster but 4 net yards passing, as the Giants' front line of Kanicki, Lertzema, Shea, and Dreyer pressured and pounded him all day. A quick whistle saved an apparent fumble by Morton here, but Dallas had to punt anyway. So with 30 seconds left in the half, Tarkenton had time to get at least a field goal and began by hitting Johnson, who took it to the Cowboys' 47. 16 seconds to play. Tarkenton for Shy. Incomplete. 12 seconds. Tarkenton for McNeil. Incomplete. 8 seconds. Tarkenton for McNeil again. Incomplete. 4th down and 4 seconds. Gogolak tries from 54 yards. It's up and good. Though still behind 17-9, the Giants take momentum into the locker room, knowing that they have indeed outplayed the Cowboys everywhere but on the board. Changed the momentum seemed unfounded. But then the Giants began a steady, deliberate march goalward toward their first touchdown. After a screen to Fredrickson picked up 10 yards, Giants' strategy narrowed to 1 man, Ron Johnson. Utilizing the draw play, which took advantage of the strong Dallas pass rush, the fullback personally moved the ball the length of the field. He carried 7 times for 54 yards on this drive, and again demonstrated the great skills he had flashed only briefly his rookie year in Cleveland. The Giants have long awaited a runner of Johnson's caliber, and now that they have one, they're using him. The former Michigan All-American went into today's game ranked 4th in the NFC in running and 6th in pass receiving. Today, he would run for 136 yards, catch 4 passes, and personally turn the game around in the Giants' favor. The only departure from Johnson's exhibition of skills came on the Dallas 7. With it 3rd and 1, Tarkenton faked to Johnson, rolled out, and hit Fredrickson in the flat to the 4-yard line. On the next play, number 30 powered his way in for the score. The Giants had pulled to within 4 points, 16-20. A repeat of the touchdown shows the excellent Giant blocking, and that Johnson was met solidly by number 54, Chuck Howley. Despite this, he got into the end zone. Everything was going New York's way now, and determined.
1st and 10, New York at the Giant 29. Tarkenton, screen to Fredrickson, to the 30, 35. Fredrickson running hard to the 39. That's good for 10 yards. Again, Johnson, 45, 50, 45, down to the 40 to the 38-yard line before Charlie Waters made the stop. Really put the move on Herb Adderley.
The draw play, and watch Johnson. He puts a move on one of the Cowboys. We'll try and pick him up as he breaks now to the outside. One of the Cowboy defensive backs comes up right here. Now look at this little shift there. I believe it was Herb Adderley, but you don't see many backs making moves like that.
And at Yankee Stadium. That's Johnson inside the 30 to the 26-yard line. 12 yards, another New York first down. New York at the Dallas 23. Stack I. Morrison in motion. Johnson looking for some place to go. He found the hole and moved it to the 15-yard line. That'll be close for another first down. Johnson sliding off Lilly. But Lilly hung on until the reinforcements arrived. Johnson still picked up 4 yards, perhaps 5 to the 11-yard line. Officials mark it at the 12. Again, Johnson carrying half the Dallas team to the 6-yard line, and he'll be close for another first down.
Johnson again the draw play. Jethro Pugh got to the inside, recovered. And there are those backs we were telling you about that are up closer. Leroy Jordan doing the...
Johnson. He's down to the goal line. He's over.
Touchdown all the way. Here it is again. 2nd and 3rd effort. He's hit by Howley, spins loose, and just does get into the end zone.
To keep it that way, they did the unexpected. Gogolak's onside kick was perfect. Rookie Joe Green made the recovery and streaked down the sideline. The ball had to be brought back to the point of recovery, for an onside kick cannot be advanced by the kicking team. But it didn't matter. The Giants had possession of the football. 2 out of 3 officials agreed. Tom Landry was watching victory slip away again for his team. . With the ball on the Dallas 44, the Giants wisely stayed with the run and Ron Johnson. He went off right tackle, 9 yards. Then on the first play of the fourth quarter, behind superb blocking, streaked to the Dallas 14. On the next play, Tarkenton saw no receiver and scrambled to the 3-yard line. New York looked like a cinch to take the lead. On his opponent's 3-yard line, Tarkenton ignored Johnson and inexplicably chose to pass. Number 20, Mel Renfro, caught him from the blind side for a 10-yard loss. Now Tarkenton had to pass. His target was number 24, Fredrickson, coming out of the backfield. And as Tarkenton waited for him to clear, he was hauled down by Bob Lilly on the 22. The touchdown threat had ended, and Gogolak, who had early kicked field goals of 40, 42, and 54 yards, missed a chip shot from the 22.
Let's take a look at it again. The ball has to travel 10 yards. And the ruling is it is a free ball. You cannot advance it. That was the hassle. You cannot run this football. You can recover it. And, of course, this is for naught here. You cannot advance it. It's like recovering a lateral.
6 from the Dallas 44. Johnson to the 40, to the 35. Cornell Green, number 34. Adderley, number 26. His replacement is Tom Stinson, number 56. 2nd and 7. New York from the 32 of Dallas. Johnson, 30, 25, 20. Johnson to the 15-yard line, caught by Adderley. 1st and 10, New York.
Ron Johnson again.
Tarkenton, flag is thrown. He's to the 5 and torn down at the 3-yard line. Tarkenton, chased by Renfro, and Mel Renfro up from the secondary, lowered the boom on him back at the 13, coming on like a sprinter. Tarkenton, again, this time hit by Lilly, number 74. 2 and 54. Shiner puts it down at the 29. And it is no good.
Too close.
Off to the left.
But once again, the Giants got the big play from their defense. Jerry Shea dropped Morton on a 3rd down pass, and New York had the ball. Tarkenton stung them immediately with a 32-yard pass to Clifton McNeil, who was their leading receiver today with 6 catches despite the fact he had broken his nose in the first half. Two plays gained nothing for New York. And on the vital 3rd down play, Tarkenton spotted Johnson unguarded over the middle. This crucial play netted them 22 yards to the Dallas 17.
Good protection again for Morton momentarily, but it broke down, as you saw. He took a little bit too much time. It looked like Shea, 75, busted through and made a big play for the Giants, dropping Morton at the 41. McNeil at the 45 to the 50. Charlie Waters out of bounds at the 41 of Dallas.
Clifton McNeil was wide open. Herb Adderley passing him on in some kind of a zone formation. Somebody didn't pick him up. We'd have to speculate it was Charlie Waters, who is in hot pursuit here to keep out when they let it go.
Tarkenton to Johnson, to the 25, to the 20, to the 16-yard line. 1st down, New York.
Tarkenton, staying with the pass, couldn't find an open receiver and couldn't find any room to scramble. In fact, he couldn't even locate any room to safely fall down. Third down on the Dallas 13, and Tarkenton's pass to Johnson barely made it past Mel Renfro's dive. The Giants had taken the lead with 3 minutes left in the game. New York 23, Dallas 20. 10 seconds remaining. The Cowboys would have to make it on this one last play. Morton had time to throw and passed to Renzel deep over the middle, but he dropped it to end the Cowboys' hopes once and for all. A repeat of this vital play shows that Morton's throw was right on target. Renzel simply blew it as the Giants' 23-20 winners went wild. Tarkenton fell on the ball for the last play of the game, and New York had their 5th straight win and one of their most significant victories in many a year. They are now tied with the Cowboys for 2nd place in the NFC's Eastern Division and are 1 game behind the Cardinals, a team they have already beaten. It's been almost a decade that so much roaring enthusiasm has been seen in Yankee Stadium, but it is deserved. For New York's hopes for finishing first, which were so invisible after they lost their first 3 games of the season, are now very real. Today, New Yorkers are dreaming bolder dreams. Dreams of a championship.
And when the Redskins visited Yankee Stadium, they found that even the Giants' mistakes weren't hurting them. Although the Redskins took a commanding lead with 3 third-period touchdowns, they were not ready for yet another blossoming element in the Giants' team framework. Number 24, running back Tucker Frederickson, emerged from the shadows and burst into prominence. He rampaged for 10 receptions and scored twice. With the Giants trailing 33-21 late in the last quarter, Tucker Frederickson streamed down the sidelines and into the end zone. All units were functioning together, and the defense held to regain possession. When faced with the 4th and 6, things looked futile. But to the Giants, the word futile had become meaningless. Tarkenton to Johnson got the first down. Then, with 1 minute to go, Ron Johnson swooped in, a victorious War Eagle. And the Giants had won 6 in a row and were nearing the top of the division.
Last week in Yankee Stadium, the New York Giants stormed out to meet the Washington Redskins. In recent weeks, the Giants have been formidable, due mainly to a rejuvenated running attack led by Ron Johnson. But last week, an all but forgotten player named Tucker Frederickson, number 24, played the greatest game of his career. He caught 10 passes for 165 yards and careened and battered his way through the Redskins as though he were wearing armor plate instead of leather pad. His first score put the Giants ahead, and then number 30, Ron Johnson, decided it was about time he got some attention too. Luckily, number 18, Clifton McNeil, was one of those paying attention to Ron, and the Giants increased their total to 14. But the Redskins weren't far behind as Kurt Knight kicked 4 field goals to make it 14-12 at the half. A close game. But in the third quarter, the Redskins exploded. Number 31, Charlie Haraway, raced 57 yards the first time the Redskins touched the ball. Sonny Jurgensen flew one to Charlie Taylor, number 42, and the Redskins were disappearing in the distance. Then it was Charlie Haraway again, and at the end of the third period, Washington led 33-14. But in the fourth quarter, Ron Johnson became the man of the minute as he ripped off yardage in greedy hunks. Yards turned to points. But what New York fan dared to hope that the Giants could pull it out? Every minute had its hero, and the man of the next minute was Tucker Frederickson, whose 57-yard excursion gave the Giants new life. With time vanishing, the defense stopped the Redskins cold. But the Giants' offense was sputtering. The great comeback was falling short. On a last-ditch 4th and 6 situation, Tarkenton hit Johnson for the first down. New York had new life, and the last minute belonged to Ron Johnson, who skirted end and swooped into the end zone like a victorious war eagle. For New York, it was their 6th straight win, and although they trail the Cardinals by 1 full game, they may soon be taking that giant step to the top.
The Giants took an early lead as they continued to play self-assured, take-your-break football. But then, disaster struck. Not only costly on the scoreboard, but costly because it halted momentum, and costly because it gave hope to the Eagles and their attack turned ferocious. And though the night was clear and the ball went spinning, it just kept on tumbling down. The Giants' last-ditch effort failed. The clock struck midnight, the spell was broken. The 6-game win streak had ended. And word was that this upset loss on national TV would give the Giants an excuse to fold up their tents and creep silently out into the night and out of the division race.
33 are deep. The punter is Bill Bradley. That puts it out of there, and it is not a very good kick. It is high, it is into a mild breeze, but it takes a Philadelphia bounce. And it rolls down right near the New York Giants' 45-yard line. The Giants have the ball 1st and 10, and they have field position. We have a timeout here at Franklin Field, and our score in the first quarter, the Eagles nothing, and the New York Giants have nothing. Go to the left. And Tucker Frederickson's moved up into the slot. Look out for Frederickson. He's been a prime receiver. This time he goes deep to McNeil. Clifton's got it. And he is caught, and he is dragged down by Ray Jones, but not until he reaches the Philadelphia 25-yard line. Here, the home of the University of Pennsylvania Quakers. Tarkenton to Frederickson. A good block from Ron Johnson gets him around the corner and gets him down around the 21-yard line before left linebacker Adrian Young, number 35, makes the tackle. The Giants after Philadelphia, 21.5. This time Johnson is flanked to the left side, and Tarkenton's pass for Clifton McNeil is incomplete, depending on the play. Nate Ramsey for the Eagles.
I said, well, I didn't have that much, and he's really not that fond of it. He says, I haven't kicked only but one time this year. That was in Dallas. He didn't decide before the game what shoe he's going to wear. Let's see how he does right now.
From the 29-yard line, the kick is high, and the kick is good.
So he must have chosen the right shoe, wouldn't you say? He picked it out there.
6 plays, 54 yards, and the New York Giants grab the lead. Down, and 25. Sil Pinder. Oh, ball is loose. The Giants have it. Scott Eaton's on the football.
There's a pretty good hitting going on there, I'll tell you.
Jimmy Files knocked it loose, and Scott Eaton covered it.
That's a quick pitch. Bender has it. He's coming in there. You'll see Eaton, number 20, from the side. I think Eaton is actually part of that reason for it, but Files, number 58, comes in. The ball just pops loose, and Scott turns around and says, there it is. It's mine.
Here goes Clifton McNeil from his wide receiver position, running around the end, and he's inside the 10. He's down to about the 6. Tucker Fredrickson has a first down. It'll be first and goal to go at about the 2. Hanson putting Lloyd in at the middle linebacking position. First and goal to go. Ron Johnson, touchdown, Giants. .24-yard line, their own 24. Ron Johnson. Crowd of folks there, but the momentum of the Giant offensive line carries him up across the 30 to the 31. For the 10-6, second down and 3, the Giants the ball. And Tucker Fredrickson missed in the backfield. He is up and perhaps has a first down before Adrian Young, number 35, knocked him out of bounds. 1.5 yard for the Giants, just shy of their own 35, and they go to Ron Johnson. Adrian Young hit him just short of the line of scrimmage, but I think perhaps Ron had enough to get it to the 35, and he did. He's from Tacoma, played at the University of Washington. Here's Tarkenton, first down and 10, rolling. His pass is away. McNeil is wide open, and he is out of bounds across midfield. It will be a New York first down. Line. McNeil is to the left this time. Tarkenton, great pressure from Rosevich, unloads to Fredrickson, and Tucker fumbles, and it's recovered by Herman inside the 20-yard line.
There are years, and there are years. Southern, Jackson State, Alcorn A&M, and all the rest.
Third down 10, 18-yard line. Giants have it. Tarkenton, good protection. His pass is incomplete, and give Tim Rosevich a lot of credit for breaking up that one again. McNeil was the target. He'll try a field goal from the 25-yard line. It's got the uprights. 9 plays, 75 yards. And the New York Giants build their lead to 13-6 over the Eagles, and we have 40 seconds to play in the first half. At their own 39-yard line, first down. Ron Johnson. And Ron gets it up to the 44-yard line before he is drilled back by Tim Rosevich. That's picked up on the 14 yards tonight in 12 carries. Here he goes. He had a little daylight this time before Adrian Young runs him down as he reaches Philadelphia country at the 49-yard line. It's that kind of a night in Philadelphia. Second down and 10. Tarkenton's pass. It is thrown to Bob Tucker, the second catch of the night for Tucker. Ron Porter, number 50 from Idaho, right there to get him. The advance of the ball is down to about the 43-yard line. Third quarter of play, the Eagles leading by 3. Tarkenton wants to throw it over the middle. He's got Tucker. And Bob, who has been a tremendous performer by the New York Giants, is drilled out of bounds down inside the 25-yard line. It's a New York first down. And you know Charlie Winter and the St. Louis Cardinals are watching. Johnson, delay up the middle. 20-yard line. Steve Priest, number 33, hit him hard. On the Plains. Third down and 2. Tarkenton sneaking for it. He may have it. Fran played his football under the shadows of the red clay of Athens, Georgia, University of Georgia. 4 times. Tarkenton rolling. Callaway forces him to unload. The pass intended for Tucker, incomplete. Defending Nate Ramsey, Philadelphia.
Hey, I'll tell you, Callaway forced him to unload that one. That was some great pressure by Callaway as he came out. Fran was on a rollout there, and he actually rolled into the strong side.
Personal foul, Philadelphia. They nailed the passer. He's a 2-year man from Texas Southern. Now ball's on a 7-yard line. Here goes Ron Johnson, and Callaway just missed him. Johnson is finally belted out of bounds, and Rosevich was over there.
Rosevich made the tackle right before he crossed the goal line.
It's on the 1-yard line. 3rd down and goal to go. Penalty flags are down. The Giants have put it in the end zone. Let's wait for the officials and the penalty. It's against Philadelphia. It is declined by New York. The Giants go 60 yards in 9 plays and put a touchdown on the board.
The Giants had gone through the fire of defeat. Perhaps it had tempered them like steel. In Washington, Sonny Jurgensen's rifle arm was right on, but cornerback Willie Williams came up with the silencer. And the Giants were on their way again. And still the Redskins couldn't cope with Tucker Fredrickson, who scored twice. Fran to Bob Tucker accounted for the tie-maker. Then, with time on the wane, Bobby Duhan barged downfield to set up the tie-breaking Pete Gogolak field goal that put the Giants back in the victory circle and back in the thick of the division race.
In Washington, quarterback Fran Tarkenton found victory, while Sonny Jurgensen found another afternoon of frustration. Tarkenton has always possessed an amazing gift for improvisation. But on Sunday, this talent rubbed off on some of his teammates, notably Spider Lockhart, number 43. Early in the game, Tarkenton relied on revitalized Tucker Fredrickson, whose tough reception at the goal line was somehow not rewarded by a touchdown. But one play later, Ron Johnson plowed in to give New York a 10-3 lead. The Redskins moved the ball freely through the Giants, and football's leading rusher, Larry Brown, moved 139 yards closer to the magic 1,000-yard mark. Jurgensen's passing game bore similar fruits, and this 66-yard hookup with Walter Roberts tied the game at 10. Two third-period touchdowns gave New York a 14-point advantage. The first came routinely on a rollout from Tarkenton to Fredrickson. The second resulted from a scramble as Tarkenton connected with Bob Tucker through a crease in the Redskins' goal line defense. Jurgensen rallied the Redskins into a tie by first combining with sure-fingered Larry Brown for a tough touchdown. Then Sonny tied the game at 24 by spearing Charlie Taylor's understudy, John Henderson, with a quick sideline pass. The Giants' victory rally was spurred by Bobby Duhan, a rarely used back, who sprinted 38 yards to the Redskins' 15. With less than 2 minutes to play, Pete Gogolak booted New York into a 27-24 lead. Washington then moved to the Giant 36 with just 17 seconds remaining. Disdaining a tie, the Redskins went for a win, but Jurgensen's fake field goal was smothered by number 33, Joe Green. For the second time in 3 weeks, the Giants had eked by the Redskins. In 2 weeks, Alex Webster's rush for glory runs head-on into the St. Louis Cardinals.
Last week in Yankee Stadium, the Giants welcomed the Bills with a surprise as Pete Gogolak opened the game with a perfectly executed onside kick. That unexpected opening kept the Bills off balance, and number 10, Fran Tarkenton, took advantage of their discomfort with a strike to number 18, Clifton McNeil. However, before the Giants could score, the Bills regrouped and stopped them cold. The Bills themselves could generate little offense as rookie quarterback Dennis Shaw, number 16, was blitzed and mugged repeatedly throughout the afternoon. But the Rookie of the Year candidate did finally get things going with his completion to the AFC's leading receiver, Marlon Briscoe. However, when Shaw got within scoring range, the young signal caller found that luck had run out on him. But the Bills did muster a 6-3 halftime lead on the toe of Grant Guthrie. And at the intermission, Coach Webster of the Giants told his team, quote, "If you play the same way in the second half, you've blown all you've worked for." The New Yorkers took heed, and Les Shy returned the second half kickoff 62 yards to set up a field goal. From there, Tarkenton hit number 24, Tucker Frederickson, for 1 touchdown. Then he came right back to Clifton McNeil with another. The Giants had a 20-6 victory, which was made all the sweeter by the Cardinal loss in Detroit.
After the amenities, they never knew what hit them, as Bills quarterback Dennis Shaw became part of the landscape. The offense made it a clean sweep of their AFC opponents and 8 wins in their last 9 games, which made it showdown time in St. Louis, where a win could put them into first place in the NFC East. The outcome was never in doubt, as Fran Tarkenton let loose a natural phenomenon, a hailstorm of passes that left the Cardinals bewitched, bothered, and thoroughly beaten. When the rout was over, the Giants emerged as division leaders, tied with Dallas.
In St. Louis, the New York Giants, joyriding a season-long crest of emotion, crushed the Cardinals for the second time this year. The Giant victory was a total one as the Cardinals collapsed completely in sight of their first title in 22 years. Only twice did St. Louis display their awesome offense. Once, quarterback Jim Hart burned New York with a 79-yard screen to MacArthur Lane. The Cardinals' only other touchdown resulted from the sheer individual brilliance and tenacity of tight end Jackie Smith. But for most of the game, the Giant defenders expertly shadowed and shut off the excellent St. Louis receivers. New York coupled their grudging defense with a diversified attack, featuring the pad-popping runs of Ron Johnson and number 24, Tucker Frederickson. But star status was reserved for quarterback Fran Tarkenton, who shredded one of the most expert deep defenses in football. In their first meeting, Fran wisely used tight end Bob Tucker, number 38, to molest the middle of the St. Louis secondary. Once again, Tucker's crossing patterns confused St. Louis, and he scored the first Giant touchdown. Tarkenton's uncanny ability to scramble free from trouble often cooled down the Cardinals' rush, and the artful Dodger showed that he still retained his gift for improvisation. His knack for the ad-lib play is filtered down to his teammates, as a Tucker lateral to number 85, Don Herman, resulted in a second Giant score. Another deft bit of deception by Tarkenton had St. Louis converging into the middle, while Fran scampered untouched into the Cardinal end zone. Tarkenton capped his most important and satisfying day by connecting with setback Ron Johnson for the 6 points that completely put the game out of reach. Then the fun began. Cardinal wide receiver John Gilliam, number 44, thought he would test the jaw of number 20, Scott Eaton, and executed the best hit and run since the days of Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese. For Gilliam and St. Louis, they not only lost the war, they lost the battle too. When all the cleats and helmets were finally sorted out, the Giants claimed a 34-17 victory and a first-place tie in the NFC East. For head coach Charlie Winter and the Cardinals, it was possibly the last mile, the end of the road for 1970.
From Oakland, California, we go to the gateway of the West, St. Louis, Missouri, where in another crucial game, the Cardinals meet the New York Giants. Even the most optimistic Giant fan wouldn't have dreamed the New Yorkers would be in championship contention. But the Giants have won 8 of their last 9 games and are assured of their best record since 1963. The Cardinals are out to avenge an earlier loss to New York. Such was their indignation at that defeat that they won their next 3 games by shutouts. The Giants attacked first. They hoped to get an early lead so the Cardinals would be forced to pass and abandon their strength, their great running game. This is what worked so well for New York in the first game between the two. With St. Louis keying on Ron Johnson, Tucker Frederickson ran well. The 5-year veteran from Auburn has been overshadowed by Johnson this year, but his return to first-year form is as much a reason as any for the Giants' success. Fran Tarkenton got the early lead he wanted when he rolled right and flipped to tight end Bob Tucker, who one-handed it, then ran over Jerry Stovall for the score that put New York ahead 7-0. Early in the second quarter, the Cardinals mounted a good drive that brought them to the New York 38. But Jim Hart tried to go deep to Davy Williams, underthrew the ball, and Scott Eaton came up with the interception. The momentum was with New York, and they took advantage of it. Tarkenton hit reserve setback Bobby Duhan over the middle for 22 yards. The first downs were coming for New York, and Tarkenton continued his hot hand. Don Herman made a fine catch, kept both feet in bounds, and the Giants were in Cardinal territory. Then the scrambler in Tarkenton took over. Unable to sight an open receiver, he took off. When the enemy defense came up to greet him, Clifton McNeil got the ball. Tarkenton had gained 10. McNeil nothing on the play. But the lateral was a portend of things to come. Tarkenton was throwing well, and he stuck with it. But his pass from the 17, intended for Tucker, was misplayed and almost intercepted by Roger Wehrle. Then the record Cardinal crowd of over 50,000 got an indication just what kind of day it was going to be. A penalty had moved New York back to the 32, but Tarkenton, rolling out again, passed to Tucker, who lateraled to Don Herman on the 20, and the receiver took it the rest of the way. Another look at this unusual play shows Tarkenton again couldn't spot an open receiver. Roll left, and then the ball began its journey from Tarkenton to Tucker to Herman. It was the Tarkenton-Tucker combination that had killed the Cardinals in the game played in Yankee Stadium. Tarkenton had his greatest day then, throwing 5 touchdown passes in the stunning 35-17 upset. Now, leading 14-0, it looked like history was going to be repeated. And how? On the ensuing kickoff, Chuck Latterette took the ball upfield only to be wiped out by Joe Green. The jarring tackle caused a fumble, and New York's Tom Longo recovered. A repeat of this crucial turnover reveals the kickoff actually went to Roy Shivers, but at the last moment, Latterette cut in front of him and took the ball. Latterette is the Cardinals' ace returner, so it may have been planned strategy, but the results were disastrous. 7 plays later, from the 3, Tarkenton faked a handoff to Johnson up the middle, then swung out around his right end and went all the way, unopposed, for the touchdown. The spotlight, which was to be fixed on a duel between 2 great runners, Johnson and MacArthur Lane, was squarely shining on one Francis Asbury Tarkenton. The 10-year veteran quarterback has had some great games in his career, but never a completely great season. 1970 is that season. Down by 3 touchdowns, Jim Hart had to put the ball in the air every time. The Giants had accomplished their goal of eliminating the crushing St. Louis running game. Now, with a minute remaining in the half, and New York in a prevent defense, Hart began to hit his passes. Dave Williams took a toss 33 yards to the Giant 34. Hart dropped back to pass again and was really racked by defensive end Fred Dreyer. Despite this, his screen to Lane was complete, and the 220-pound back powered his way to the Giant 18. With 9 seconds left in the half, Jim Bakken's field goal gave St. Louis their first score. New York 21, St. Louis 3. We'll be right back with more exciting action on the NFL Game of the Week. In front, 21-3, the Giants began the third quarter with another concerted drive downfield. Fredrickson and Johnson were running equally well. Each gained over 60 yards, and Johnson passed Alex Webster and Eddie Price for a Giants season rushing record. But this was Fran Tarkenton's game, and the pass was the main method. Tarkenton team with tight end Tucker on 2 successive passes to put the ball deep in Big Red country. It was the Giants' strategy to keep the ball away from St. Louis's great all-pro Larry Wilson. And this was made easier since Wilson seemed to be overcompensating to help out his left cornerback, Miller Farr. After Tucker's 29-yard gain, St. Louis stiffened and forced a Pete Gogolak field goal from the 20. But the Giants were even further in front, 24-3. Then, for the first time today, the Cardinals got the big play from their offense. MacArthur Lane, who was held to merely 26 yards rushing today, took a screen pass from Hart and raced 78 yards behind a wall of blockers to the Cardinals' first touchdown. Lane, who had run for the most yardage in a single game this year with 146 against the Redskins, had been in third place in the conference's torrid rushing race. But today his statistics suffered badly. Still, he received a hand from the disappointed St. Louis followers. The Giant lead had been cut to 14 points, but they immediately drove back 67 yards. A huge chunk of it was on a bomb to Clifton McNeil, who was dragged down by Roger Worley. An interesting sidelight in today's game was that prior to it, St. Louis had won all 8 of their games on synthetic turf, while the Giants had lost all 3 they played on carpet. But this obviously was no factor today, as Tarkenton spiraled a perfect pass to Ron Johnson for a touchdown that brought the score to 31-10 and virtually ended St. Louis's slim hopes for a comeback. St. Louis got the touchdown back with suddenness. Jim Hart was having more success now with New York in a prevent, and he hit his all-pro tight end Jackie Smith, who took it 47 yards for a Cardinal score. There was some momentary joy in St. Louis, but it was obviously way too little, way too late. A repeat of the long touchdown pass shows that the 235-pound Smith did it on his own. He was trapped by 3 Giants, but broke all 3 tackles and bulled in for 6 points. St. Louis had to get the ball fast to have any chance. So with the score 31-17, Jim Bakken kicked a squibbler, which is becoming more prevalent in the NFL. Any doubts why? Just watch. But Bobby Doohan finally cornered the elusive Pigskin, and the Giants were in business again. In fact, New York was in such command that they controlled the ball for 21 of the 30 minutes of the second half. St. Louis's last play of the game showed the frustration of 22 years, 10 coaches, and 2 cities since a title of any kind. And during the wild melee, number 17, Jim Hart, showed why a quarterback deservedly is called the smartest man on the team. The Cardinals had been favored in this game because of a more balanced running attack and a defense that ranks with the best anywhere. But the Giants today proved the adage that the best defense is a good offense. Their complete domination of a fine St. Louis team put them in first place, tied with the Dallas Cowboys. Each has a 9-4 one-loss record. St. Louis drops to second, 1/2 game behind. If New York wins their last game of the season against the Rams next Sunday at Yankee Stadium, they will be the division champions, even should Dallas win. The reason is their record within the NFC's Eastern Division is superior to the Cowboys. So after week 13 of this 51st NFL season, few races are settled, and with 1 week to go, anything could happen. And the 2 teams it could happen to are the ones we've seen here today. 2 of destiny's darlings, the Oakland Raiders and the New York Giants.
The powerful Rams would give them sole possession of the NFC East title. The Giants were now down to the big one. They started well. Behind the blocking of Willie Young and Charlie Harper, Ron Johnson ripped through the Rams' tough front four to become the first Giant ever to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. His rushing set up the field goal that put New York ahead 3-0. But from that point on, the Giants' dream of a title crumbled to dust. While the Giants went one way, the Brakes went another. Misfortune upon misfortune was epitomized by an injury to Jerry Shea, whose leg was broken in 5 places early in the game. The second half was worse. The Rams' front four pursued and pulverized Fran Tarkenton. And when number 11, Dick Shiner, came in, his luck was little better. Then it was over. And as they left the field, the Giants must have thought of the many little things that could have gone their way throughout the year to make it their season. It was the man in the blue shoes who stole the show. Ron Johnson was superb as a receiver, catching 48 passes. But when he came out of the backfield as a runner, he became a hole-picking, dust-kicking blur of blue. Ron Johnson, member of the 1,000-yard club. A swivel-hip faker, a 6-point maker. An outstanding player, to say the least, but only one of 40. One part of the organism whose sinew and soul was held together by Coach Alex Webster. He molded his men into a team and was honored for the job he did as NFC Coach of the Year. So, we are the New York Giants, individuals and professionals. But more, we became a team, more than a group of men who get their picture taken together. We shared 9 victories, 5 defeats, exultation, and depression. We strove for a common goal and failed by a slim margin. And in 1971, when we look back from a title, we'll know where we had our beginnings. We'll know that 1970 was the making of a team.